Okay. Good evening, everybody. We'll start we're going to call to order the meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, March 18th, 2026. Call to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Do we have a first? We approve the minutes, please. John?
Yes.
Do I have a second on the minutes?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Thanks, Fred. All those in favor of the minutes being approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next agenda is the privilege of the floor. Do we have anybody in the audience or any member would like to speak at privilege of the floor at this time?
Mr. Hahn,
Yes, sir.
I would like to.
Okay, if you can please introduce yourself.
Go ahead. My name is Marty Proctor. I am a resident of the town of Mina, the Clymer Central School District, and I'm also the legislator for District 18, which covers Sherman and part of the Clymer School District. And I just wanted to say that in reference to the resolution about the Clymer Central, Clymer, Panama, Sherman school merger, that I'm strongly in favor of it. What this will be doing is, we've had two merger votes in the past 20 years or so that were voted down, and I think strongly that in major part was that just school merger votes can be very passionate, pro or con, and a lot of misinformation was put out there. And I think what this will resolve is facts and give answers to people who have plenty of questions. And I think they're doing it correctly this time by hiring a coordinator or consultant, if you wish. And I just want to say that I am strongly in favor of it, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, great, Marty. Thank you. Yeah, you have a resolution, it'll be the second resolution then that we're going to discuss. So you can stick around if you have questions?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks for that. All right, we'll get into the resolutions. First resolution on the docket tonight is the Government Reduction Initiative Assistance for the Town of Pomfret, sharing and consolidating of services between municipalities. Okay.
Sit in the middle. I'll sit.
Folks can introduce yourselves. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Mark Geis, Deputy County Executive for Economic Development and CEO of the IDA.
Dan Pecos, Supervisor for the Town of Pomfret.
Lauren Sharp, Senior Planner with the Department of Planning and Development.
Great.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to start out with 1 minute to sort of set the context. So as I'm sure you all are aware, through local law and 2 resolutions, the Government Reduction Initiative was created with the purpose of helping towns, villages, school districts, et cetera, become more efficient, thereby lowering costs. When that passed, the last resolution passed, the county executive tasked the planning department with really pulling the program together, if you will. Lauren Sharp, Nate Aldrich, Rebecca Worster, myself, with working together. Really, Lauren took the lead. Created an application, frequently asked questions. We did the PR. We did a website. We've been receiving the applications. We do an internal review. We work with the applicant to kind of clean things up. We feel it's in good shape. In these 2 cases, they went to the review committee, the GRI review committee, which consists of the county executive, the chair of the county legislature, the majority leader, the minority leader, and myself. Talk through it and make a recommendation whether we want it to go forward or not. So that's in a nutshell. Do you want to say anything else before Dan kicks it off? All right.
Dan.
So here we are today with Dan Pecos.
Okay, so thank you. Our request for funds started with a request from the Village of Fredonia late last fall. They approached me about a week before our budget was due to be presented to our town council and asked if we would take over their village DPW department. I had a lot of questions because of the way our budget in the town, we're on a different timeline than the village. The village budget runs June 1st to May 31st. Ours runs January 1st to December 31st. We have a four-part budget because we have a village within the town of Pomfret. So we have a general fund townwide and a general fund townwide outside the village. And the same with our highway department, because by law, we can't charge village residents taxes for services they're already paying another taxing authority for. So it's all pretty stricted. So I didn't know if our entire highway department budget then would move into the highway department townwide and just be shared by everybody. But then I was told that if you have a two-part general fund budget, you have to have the two-part highway department budget. So I wasn't quite sure how that worked. I didn't know if it would mean we'd have to have two sets of books, one townwide and one within the village, and how that would all work. So I had a lot of questions and said, we need to step back and take a look at this. One of the other questions I had, most of our highway department, or a big portion of our highway department, is funded through county sales tax revenues. So I asked the village, does that mean we would get your sales tax revenue? And they said no. And I said, well, then if I'm picking up your costs, I've got to have a revenue to offset that. So is that an intermunicipal 5G agreement with billing? And then if it's a net break even for the town of Pomfret, why would I want to take that on? So I had a lot of questions. So throughout the course of the discussion, I said, well, as long as we're going to look at that, we should look at a few other things. We each run a village and a town court. We have the same two justices. We have a full-time clerk and a part-time clerk. Our part-time clerk is also part-time for the village. So we have the same personnel. It would make sense to maybe take a look at whether or not it makes sense to operate two courts. Building inspection code enforcement office is another one, because that's a statewide, building code is statewide. That's one that we could look at sharing also, because it's the same code. Zoning is a little different because every municipality has their own zoning, but building code is the same. And then finally, the last one I proposed was dog control services, because we're all struggling to find part-time, on-call, as-needed dog control officers. But the Department of Ag and Markets has just come out with a lengthy document. In case you haven't seen it, it's something like 37 or 38 pages, with a lot of new regulations about what every municipality has to do. And it's going to be very cumbersome for small municipalities. So for us to do that collaboratively, I think makes a lot more sense too. So the town of Pomfret took the lead. We're applying for some state funding through the local government management efficiency grants. Through our consolidated funding app, we're applying for $50,000 in total on a couple of applications there. But there's a 50% match, so that's the driving factor for the $50,000 request for GRI funding. We did, as Mark Geis said, we met with the GRI committee, the mayor of Fredonia and I, and explained what we were looking for. In the meantime, then, the county executive came to us and said, why aren't you looking at consolidations? So we've talked to all of the municipalities involved and said, if you want, we can study these shared services. We can talk to a consultant about whether or not consolidations make sense too. But part of that document that I want, or report that I want from the consultant, would be implementation steps. Identifying the areas that we could see possible savings from, but then how to implement that, so that we have an idea how to do this. And originally, the city of Dunkirk was in just for the dog control officer, but we made this presentation Monday evening to the Public Facilities Committee, and many of their common council members were in attendance, and they asked if they could be included. I said certainly which pieces. They said all of it. And then they asked me after the meeting if I would come to a common council meeting and make a presentation to their whole common council about all of it, shared services as well as the consolidation pieces. So I think there's an appetite for it out there. We just need the grant funding to study it, to make sure we do it and do it correctly, in that we actually generate savings for it, or with it.
Great. I think it's an outstanding idea. It's kind of where we're headed now. We need to be able to take, and we have to pick up on a lot of efficiencies, and by merging and consolidating, I think everybody wins, along with the taxpayers as well, too, I believe. So
We're already doing a shared service with the town of Pomfret and 4 other municipalities for our shared assessor's office. We set that up with Pomfret. We all had the same assessor, and when we looked at what we were paying her, we hired her full-time on Pomfret and gave her health insurance, paid her less than the 5 municipalities were paying her, but because she picked up health insurance through us, she was interested in doing that. It's worked out really well. We share her with Pomfret, Portland, Dunkirk, the town of Dunkirk, Hanover, and Arkwright.
Maybe Jeannie?
Jean Eppersall,
Yeah,
yes.
she's-
And what we did is we hired a couple clerks. There's a part-time clerk in Hanover and 1.5 clerks in Pomfret. All the phone calls are forwarded to the town of Pomfret, so the ladies in the office pick up the phone, "Good afternoon, assessor's office." Everybody in Arkwright thinks they're getting the Arkwright, assessor's office, but they're getting in Fredonia. And through the computers, they're able to see the properties from each of those towns, so it's worked really well. And we've brought that service in under budget every year.
That's great. Now, last meeting, I did ask the question, would you be losing employees on the consolidation? I know it's something that you did explain to us, but the rest of my committee who was not here, can you explain what would happen in the case of the consolidation and possible loss of positions?
Possibly. Again, that's what one of the things we would have to study. If we're talking a dissolution of a municipality and being absorbed into another, there would obviously be a reduction of the board, the governing board, clerk's office, tax collector, things like that. If you're talking sharing services, possibly, possibly not. Things like police and fire. Fire is a little different for a town,
Right.
obviously, than it is for a village, but police department, we have the village of Fredonia and the town of Dunkirk, or city of Dunkirk. If we're talking consolidations with both of them, if it's going into a town, say the town of Pomfret, it would probably expand that service, because right now the village of Fredonia covers the village with a little bit in the outlying area, but we stretch from Van Buren Bay to Bear Lake over to Cassadaga Lake, so it's a large area for the town of Pomfret. And if we're looking at providing police services for all of that, I would see that department probably grows.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it's gonna depend on each service and how,
Or thanks, do we have
All
any
Yeah.
questions, committee?
So, I'm the tightwad around here.
you're in good company.
Okay, good. So, I come from more an engineering background. So anyway, so what I'd like to know is the $50,000. So what are the deliverables? If we, the county, provide the town's $50,000, what are the deliverables in
I-
terms of?
I'm looking for a final report from the consultant, looking at each of those services and the consolidations with an analysis of whether or not they would save money, along with an implementation plan to implement them if they
All right, so-
are identified
So
as
what I
saving money.
hear that is, so we'll come back to us and say, okay, we spent $50,000 studying this, and the potential savings are X. This is what we're playing for. Here are the upsides, here are the downsides, and we either decide not to go forward because the upsides aren't that big, or we decide to go forward because they are. All right, so my second question is, if the county is gonna put $50,000 into the pot, the beneficiaries, I presume, are the taxpayers of these municipalities. What are the taxpayers of these municipalities putting, where's your skin in the game in this?
Because Pomfret is taking the lead,
No, not
it's
Pomfret,
difficult, it would be
Fredonia,
difficult for
yeah.
Pomfret to eat the whole
Sure.
cost.
And I'm asking Fredonia too, and.
Right, so, a couple of those municipalities are in pretty rough shape financially, so, that's why we're applying for grant funding to cover the costs.
I thought there was a partial match from the municipalities, is there not?
Just an in-kind service.
Oh, in
In-kind
kind.
service, right.
So they're
yeah.
gonna be spending a lot of time
Well-
meeting, and so they have an in-kind match, not financial.
Sure.
I envision a committee working with a consultant, because they're gonna need information, and especially cost information, staffing information
So,
from each of those
you know,
municipalities.
I used to be a consultant,
Okay,
so the definition of a consultant is a guy who comes in, looks at your watch and tells you what time it is. But of course, you gotta go to the trouble of showing him the watch. So I would be more comfortable if the municipalities, in total, not just Pomfret, had some financial skin in the game, one. And then, if we're gonna get a good payback analysis, sure, go do the good payback analysis, and we'll see what we do.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any? Or
Yeah,
Doug?
yeah, I have a
Please.
couple comments. I've had the opportunity to work with Dan and his highway department for a couple years now, and looking at these consolidation studies, in my opinion, the North County, Pomfret, town of Pomfret, the village of Fredonia, possibly the town of Dunkirk, would be an ideal thing. Dan is retired now from his superintendency at Lakeshore Central School. Perhaps he's the person that would be best fit to lead this this consulting group in this study. I look also at the town of Pomfret's co-enforcement and how they handle that. I've had great experiences over the last couple of years under those two umbrellas, the town highway and also co-enforcement. So I'm a supporter of this, but again, to echo what Fred has said, the only way that we can show a savings to the taxpayers is pretty simple. You cut labor, you cut services, you pick up efficiencies, you reduce labor cost, retirements, you bring in a younger generation of employees, you maybe offer retirement, for the higher paid employees and pensions and such. And that's difficult to do in a public taxpayer institution, whether it's a town, a village, a city, or a school. And those are the challenges. And then the other challenge aspects, where do the unions, the labor fit into all of this? And I think we can do a great job identifying what the cost savings are gonna be. But how do you get that labor to agree to do these things?
No,
This
that,
is New York State,
It's
so
a good aspect.
those are just some points, but I would certainly be supportive of Pomfret, town of Dunkirk, and the village of Fredonia for many reasons. I've spent a bunch of time over the last couple of years, and you see how things, right or wrong, how things operate, how they function, and I think that's an opportunity for the tax base in the North County. So,
Mhm.
Thank you.
no, that's a very good point, because it isn't easy in the private sector, easy. When somebody comes in with a CapEx and says, I'm going to save this much in labor, okay, fine, we spend the equipment, and now we come back on the post audit and say, okay, what were their names? And all of a sudden, there's all sorts of smoke around about people being reassigned and whatnot. And I hear you, and public sector is probably tougher. But I would hope that if we're going to commit these funds, and it turns out that we're 3 headcount saved, that we in fact are going to reduce 3 headcount, and not duck shove it one way or another when we get to the day.
I would say it all depends on how the structure happens. If it's coming to the town of Pomfret and we can save 3
Again, not just-
positions,
yeah,
we're gonna save 3 positions. Legislator Penhallow mentioned my work at Lakeshore Central. Prior to that, I ran the Erie to Stockwood Cattaraugus BOCES business office for 6 years and managed 189 different budgets for shared services among school districts. So if there's a way that we can do this, we'll find it, and we'll figure out how to do it, and we will implement it.
Okay.
We did implement a shared assessor's office with 5 municipalities, and we're saving all 5 municipalities money.
Sure. And when I say you, I don't mean Pomfret,
No, I know.
I mean all the municipalities.
Right, but I'm taking the lead on this for that very reason. I do have background in it.
Vince?
No, I would just like to say I'm very much in support of this. I say bravo that finally something is being done. Been talking about shared services for years and consolidation. And I don't think this is a point where we can ask these municipalities to put financial skin in the game. And in-kind, is basically all money these municipalities can afford. Otherwise, none of this will ever happen. So I appreciate that, you're trying to pinch pennies here, but we can't pinch pennies to leave dollars on the table.
I mean, one other point, we're talking about this, but there also should be a deep dive into why are we in this position? And I know that's an unpopular question, but I have to balance my checkbook at home with my money to provide for my family, put food on the table. And then you ask yourself, why are we in these positions, some of these municipalities? Why are some healthier than others? A bunch of reasons. A lot of things are out of individual municipalities' control, but it always comes down to the affordability, people staying in our area. But again, at the end of the day, we don't talk about some of those root causes.
Mhm.
And that's maybe something where people don't want to hear about it, but I think there should be some of that as a dual path. How did we get here? Let's not duplicate those mistakes or those oversights or those misunderstandings. Maybe we weren't educated in all these things, because these are part-time positions.
Mhm.
But again, it's a collective thing, and it just comes down to what is affordability for the taxpayers in Chautauqua
That's
County?
what it boils
And
down to.
that's just, at the end of the day, as a side note, I just got an increase in my assessment on my home for roughly $100,000 in the town of Stockton. And, you know, my phone's ringing off the hook individually, because I represent that town. That's okay, I signed up for that. But then you ask yourself, the affordability. That assessment's never gonna go down. I'm 54, you know, to the day I die, that's gonna go up every so many years when they do a reval. But anyway, it's a point, it all comes together with the affordability, and what got us in this position, let's try to reduce those oversights, mistakes, whatever it may be, going forward. Thank you.
And to skin in the game, I mean, we all understand that the taxpayers of the county at large are probably no better off than the taxpayers at large of the municipalities involved here. So, you know, while I understand from a technical budgeting, political standpoint, it's, you know, hard to put skin in the game. The pain, you know, per capita is equal.
So, again, I can't speak to how things would be laid out. If, in the end, it lands in the town of Pomfret, I'm a CPA with 5 or 6 years of audit experience for school districts and municipalities. I have an MBA in finance from St. Bonaventure University. The town of Pomfret is in good shape financially. I would make sure that the way the finances especially are set up, that we have the proper internal controls in place. You can count on me to do that. I did that in every school district I worked in, including the BOCES. If I'm not involved in a consolidation or a combination for a new town, I can't really speak to that. But rest assured, if it's shared services and it's town of Pomfret, it'll be set up properly.
Thanks. Is there any other questions, concerns, committee? Hearing none. All in favor of the resolution proposed?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next resolution on the docket is Government Reduction Initiative. Oh, no, that's, we just did that. No, we didn't. A Government Reduction Initiative Assistance for Clymer Central School District for Clymer's Sherman Panama Merger Feasibility Study. And if you could please introduce yourself, folks. and-
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Shelley O'Boyle. I'm the project coordinator for the Clymer Sherman Panama Merger Study. With me tonight, I have
I'm Teresa Guzman, and I'm the president of the Board of Education for Sherman Central School.
Ed Mulkern, I'm the president of the Clymer Central School District Board.
and the Panama Central School District Board President, Carrie Muncy, sends a message to you. There is illness that has gone through her board, so she was unable to attend, but she wanted you to know that she is very much in support of the merger study, as well as the GRI initiative to apply for. So we're here before you tonight to request funding for the study. And prior to doing that, I'd like to give you some history as to why we are here trying to collaborate and consolidate 3 districts. As you know, a merger between 2 districts is very challenging, but 3 districts adds another layer to the situation. You'll see on your handout, the very first bar graph is a survey. There were actually 2 surveys that were done. On the left-hand side, you'll see that in May of 2025, budget voters were asked if they would be interested in a merger study. And you can see that there were 630 participants that took the survey that voted in all 3 districts, and 73% expressed their wish to have a merger study be done. Just recently, between January to February 2026, we had a survey that we sent out a mailer to all district residents in the 3 districts. and asked them to participate in a study. And we had 808, and I say that because some people didn't answer all of the questions, so sometimes the math adds up to 806, but you get that, yeah. So you can see that predominantly they still are in favor, the agree and strongly agree outweigh the disagree and strongly disagree. 441 to 185, with 178 residents that are unsure, indicating that they need more data. If I can go down to the reasons, the decline, one would be the declining enrollment, which is your next table. If you look over the next 5 years, all 3 districts are estimated to have a decrease in enrollment by 61 or 62%. That would include Sherman as well. The numbers in Sherman are high right now. You'll see that it says 36 to 39%, but that's because Sherman has non-resident tuition students, a large majority of those students, 68 of them in that count. Some of those, half of those are staff members, the other half are tuition students in. But if you take those kids out, the number is very equal to the other 2 districts. The last bar graph on that page, and this second reason that the districts need to come together in a merger, would be the the revenue to expenditure gap. It's difficult to see in that bar graph, but over the next 5 years, all districts will have about a $2 million gap between revenues and expenditures. And if I may, I need to say to you, all 3 districts have managed their funds well, but when you have a 2% tax levy cap, along with 15%, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because you all have budgets, right? Along with a 15% increase in health insurance, along with contractual obligations of salary increases, the 2% doesn't balance out the expenditures. I do also want to point out that the districts have looked at various other things to be successful. They have started to share, well, not started, they have been sharing services, they've been sharing athletics, and it just needs to come together with a merger. Say that again. Did I miss something?
No, academics, we do a lot of sharing. We're trying to maximize that, but there's only so much you can do.
Thank you very much. The next page is just the correlation between the merger itself and the GRI efficiencies, and I'm not going to read that because I know that you had that ahead of time, and I don't, for your time, yes. If you could turn to the next page, though, I'd like to tell you that at this point, if you look at the very top of the page, there is a projected cost of the project in the initial stages of the project of $185,000, and those are the costs, or the total of what we actually know the project to cost. We keep coming across different and more things as this study progresses that increases those costs that we're not even aware of yet, but in order to come up with the budget, it was $185,000. The next is, you had this to begin with. I'm going to skip over the actual budget of what we're asking for, but what I do want to draw your attention to is the additional funding sources at the bottom, particularly the match of the school districts. So the districts have applied for the New York State Local Government Efficiency Grant, and they applied for $31,250. They are also committed to matching the 31,250 as well. So that is a portion that the district all 3 districts are matching. I also would like to point out that we recognize that not one entity should have the entire cost of the project. So we have tried to offset it. We received some bullet aid from Assemblyman Molitor, and we applied for the Ralph C. Sheldon Foundation grant, but we were late. We weren't late. The process was too late in order to get a bigger grant amount. And we did end up with the director's exclusionary grant of $2,500. The last page, you've probably had the ability to look at previous to this, so I don't want to take up any of your time and would like to answer any questions.
So can I just, real quick, so just to be clear,
Go ahead, Mark.
they already have a consultant under contract to do the study for $85,000. The 100 that they're asking for is all the other stuff involved with pushing it out, having public meetings, answering questions, on and on and on. So it's not just the study, it's everything else that needs, because that's part of the reason why it failed in the past, we think, is the misinformation, not being able to answer questions. And so hiring a consultant, and that's what she's doing, is making sure that this is rolled out in the proper way. So that's, I think, an important,
All right, first thing I want to ask, if I can, is this consultant that's been hired already, has he started the process already, or is it something he's just been hired to undertake?
There's 2 different, so the consultant that is doing the study is White and Partners. They have already been hired
Okay.
to do the study. They are in the data collection portion of the study, and in May, they'll be winding that down and submitting the study to the state, and then moving on to presenting to the boards. The other consultant is the project coordinator, and I'm gonna put the elephant here out in the room.
Okay.
The project coordinator is me. Take me out of it. As Mark had indicated, the districts wanted to make sure that with 3 districts involved in this, that each district has equal footing, along with the fact that the communication gets rolled out to each district at the same time. So yes, they have also been paying my expenses to make sure that
Okay.
this gets rolled out correctly.
So is there a single group of people, or like a committed group of 3 or 4 or 5 that are heading this up? I mean, you 3, I'm looking at you 3 now. Is there anybody else involved in
Oh, goodness.
throwing this together?
Oh, goodness.
Right.
We have multiple, first of all, you have all 3 boards, right, that are totally involved.
All right.
You also have leadership committee meetings, so that is the presidents of the board, the vice presidents of the board, the superintendents, along with David O'Rourke from the district superintendent, liaison, through BOCES, the liaison to the state. We have the state ed that weighs in all the time,
Okay.
David Elliott.
Okay, so you have a really good group of people involved in what you're doing.
Yes.
On the other side of this, what's the temperature of a lot of, let's say, the teachers that would be involved? Would it be reducing the amount of teachers?
Well, actually, we had that came up pretty quickly and just happened to be in the timing in Sherman. And I had an opportunity to speak with the faculty and actually the staff multiple times to talk about that a little bit, because one of the big pieces of this is there's some incentive aid from the state that would be infused into our districts. And one piece of that, one of the reasons that they do that is that we have to, honor contracts and we have to keep those contracts going, and we have people with seniority. So the idea is that you're able to, through attrition and, attrition and natural attrition, be able to reduce that size of staff as you go along without a big influx of, you know,
Okay.
people needing to go.
Okay.
Because, you know, that's not gonna help anybody either, right?
No.
If we had a lot of layoffs.
It's not.
So that's not the
I mean,
intention.
that'd be my question to find out too, because we're gonna consolidate, we just talked about towns, municipalities, now we're going to schools. I mean, what's gonna be the ultimate savings, I guess, for the taxpayers when it comes to all this as well too?
So there's,
That's-
I'm sorry if I,
That's what the study's gonna,
This is what study's gonna.
Yeah.
that's
okay,
what the
so we have to-
study's gonna look
Now, we got a
at.
few questions, I think, on the amount of the study. Johnny
Yeah,
wants to go
yeah,
ahead.
Thank you for your time, and again, I'm considerably optimistic and want to support this. Just a couple questions for those in front of us this evening. We talk about the skin in the game. I know what the potential end can be. I haven't seen any fund balances from any of the three school districts. What is your unrestricted fund balances? Okay. How much of those individual unrestricted fund balances are you contributing towards this? So that's just a general question. You probably can answer that. That's one. Two, my concern with the merger of these threes is the community aspect, and I'm sure you're addressing that. But when I drive through Sherman, there's the school, there's the sidewalks, there's the playgrounds, there's the baseball and midget football games. You drive through Clymer. Those are community centers, those are the hubs. And you'd probably say the same for Panama. So that's point number two that I would have a concern with. And I know we have to do this study to get the answers. And again, we look at three school districts, three CEOs, three business managers, duplicate staffs, and then we look at, and my brother is in education, and so is my wife. So I'm sure I'm gonna hear a little bit of the feedback, but I look at my individual taxes, and the greatest aspect of my property taxes are school taxes.
school tax, right?
So that's a concern with affordability. And then we look at the labor contracts. And so those are just my high-level points, which I'm sure you've been beat with a bat with some of these aspects. But my concerns are, what is the individual skin in the game from your fund balances, one? And what is the community impact and, or, you know, input on losing those three community centers for the families, for the kids, for all those things that happen in individually in those different and distinct communities?
Those, may I? Thank you. Those are great questions, and those are questions that we faced the first two times that we tried to merge, and we had no answers. And it was, as you can well imagine, didn't go well. When we got into this merger study this time, we were very clear that we wanted to make sure that we took care of all those issues, and we had answers for those, whether they were good answers or bad, and whether the community, you know, whether they were gonna satisfy the community or not. You'll notice in the middle, and this is something that just popped, this wasn't in our original discussions, is the building repurpose analysis. So we're going to try our darndest to maintain those buildings is for some school while we get started on our merge, and then over time, find tenants or find something that we can do in those buildings, because you're absolutely right. That was a big detriment to merging. As far as our fund balances go, I'll draw your attention to the first page, the bar graphs at the bottom. We have fund balances, and we're pulling a little bit of money out of our fund balances to work on this. But the reality of it is, if this doesn't work, and there's no guarantees, we feel really good about this and really confident, and we think if we can get to the end of this study, and with Shelley's help, we'll be successful. The community, all three communities are favorable. And I've sat through the meetings. I know what they look like. I know when we sit in a meeting and and as you guys well know, if there's something controversial, you get lots of people to show up, and they're all negative. They all have something to say. We had that happen. This time around, not to say that there aren't a couple people in the audience that are negative, but they have agendas. But we don't have that this time. You know, people understand this, that we're all in on this. Because we won't, and this won't be just Clymer, Sherman, and Panama. This will be all small schools in the state of New York. We're all facing the same deal. We've been notified that next year, we're only gonna get a 1% increase on our foundation aid instead of 2%. You probably know that.
And
That's gonna be devastating. So, I guess what we're asking for is we're asking the county, who ultimately will sink or swim with us on this. If these schools are, you know, turn into be a nightmare, it's a nightmare for the county. It's a nightmare for everybody. But it's especially a nightmare for the kids that right now we cannot provide a proper educational experience with 200 or 300 kids in a school, in a graduating class. We have, all three of us have classes coming where we're only gonna have 10 kids in the class. You know, you just can't, and we looked at distance learning, we've looked at a number of things, but we just can't provide everything that we need to provide with class sizes that big. So, you know, that's where we're at, and we're really hopeful that the county will be able to help us get over the finish line with this.
And real quick, skin in the game, they've already put skin in the game, the 85 for the study. So that came from all three school districts,
85,000?
85,000,
Okay.
so.
Well, which 85,000?
No.
Or the 100?
No, we have, the district's committed to 31,250, three districts.
Each?
No.
Total.
Share.
The cost of the study is $82,500. We applied for an LGE grant.
Sorry.
It's $31,250 that we applied for. There is a match equal to that, so we are matching $31,250
For a total of 62.5 is what you're talking.
for the 62.5. So we are making up that difference
All right, so you've got 30-odd thousand in the game.
at rest.
Got it.
And
Thank
if you
you.
think about real costs, we also have superintendents that are working on this all the time. That, you know, this is just hidden things you never see. All of the time that the boards put in, obviously, we do that, you know,
So-
this for free, but.
So what is that over the three districts? And I just, you know, to me, it's, I still don't know the fund balances of those. And that to me is an important part of the information and your financial skin in the game. I
We
mean,
have-
the buy-in.
I don't know what, I think,
I'm not-
no, I mean, we have about $450,000 fund, but we just went through the budget process, we're gonna carry $450,000 over. Which if we, you know, if we have increased costs again next year like we had this year, even close, and then we go down to 1%, a 1% increase in foundation aid, we'll have $200,000. And then the following year, we'll have nothing. And that's just the way it is.
What's your cost per pupil?
Over 40, I think all three districts over $40,000.
So New York State average these days is 26, 27,000?
About that, yes.
That's the highest in the country, by the way, by a lot.
Yeah,
So there's the problem.
I mean, you know, truth be told, we could we could send our high school kids into Erie Cathedral Prep. Very, very good, very good education for $22,000 a kid. We could make money, but that doesn't solve our problem. You know, that just doesn't take care of our problem.
Speak to me a bit about distance learning. In a fit of transparency, I think I hit a reply all button on this a while back. My experience is Texas, and they, of course, have small towns scattered way out. You know, nobody's going to bus anybody around. They have an institution called five-man football. Actually produces wonderful football players because they really got to play both ways and learn things. You know, great academic results, The smaller schools, the places like Marfa beat the pants off the big city schools in academic results. And they do it for a fraction of what we're talking about. One of the things they use is distance learning. So they have all the schools on the same schedule. So when your best calculus professor is sitting in a room and he's got 28 kids in front of him, 28 little squares that are sitting in different resource rooms in different campuses, he sees them, they see him, and away they go. If we're not really considering that kind of stuff hard, I'm not for this.
Absolutely, and that's a good point, because we all have looked at distance learning for answers to be able to meet the needs of kids, like your calculus kids, or kids that are like specializing in certain areas where we're a small rural district.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all participate in distance learning and try to augment our offerings through that. It's just not,
But what's available?
I mean, we can do more of it, but, you know, we went through the COVID experiment too, and found out that it wasn't as effective with the students
Oh,
in
sure.
a large case.
But, you know, I mean, we'll just cut right to the chase. Texas is Texas, New York is New York. The state would have to be the driver to that, to make sure that all the distance learning that we would need would be available, and we're,
I believe you're right when you say that, by the way,
oh,
but
yeah,
that
yeah,
is the
it's a
problem.
way, it's just the
But that
facts of
one-
life, and, you know, I mean, you can imagine how the teachers' unions would take to that.
And
Yeah,
I'll be honest,
Yeah,
I
it's
am
not
not
gonna
sympathetic.
fly, so we use it, you know, there's certain things that we have kids that just wanna take a certain class that we just cannot provide, you know, we can't have a teacher teach one, you know, hire that caliber of a teacher to come in and teach one class for 2 kids.
No,
We
that's a
can't do
strong,
it.
no, nor should you.
Right,
Right.
so we
So it's
utilize
very
distance
valid.
learning for that.
Yeah, it's very valid.
But to get into some kind of large-scale distance learning, that's just not, you know, maybe New York State will come around someday to that, but it's not today.
And the other piece to that is that the answer that New York State is giving is merger incentive money. So mergers are what New York State is looking at. So the communities to merge are looking at $68 million to $71 million over 14 years. So
Yeah,
I get you, like, and aside from that, at second grade, when you have 9 kids in a class, distance learning doesn't meet that need for an art teacher or to be able to educate the 9 kids in the class. High school, that's a great place for the distance learning. And it's a good idea, and it does work with certain kids. So,
no, I sympathize, I mean, you've mentioned the teachers' union, you've mentioned New York State bureaucracy. Yeah, those, you know, obviously are what the root of the problem is. But when I hear a vibe coming through that, well, headcount reductions aren't something that we want and count in very much, that fires off my alarms.
that we
You're
don't.
doing
Oh,
this to try.
no.
Labor,
Maybe you missed.
talking labor.
I am too.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
that's the, you know, just,
What did he say?
just.
I'm sorry,
I
could you do
didn't,
that again?
can you repeat what you said?
didn't-
So I got the impression that, you know, as you do good consolidation,
Yeah.
what you're effectively going to do is you're going to raise your student-to-teacher ratio. That is where the big money is.
Yeah, and so.
And are we committed to doing that?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's-
Yeah, yeah, I mean, but, you know, keep in mind, and this may, you know, I probably won't score any points with this, but,
I'm gonna have
you
to
know,
have my work cut out.
I've been involved with the school district for 15 years. We have a really good, dedicated staff. It's not their fault that this bar graph looks like it looks. You know, I mean, are they paid well? They are. Do they get good benefits? They do. Do they do a good, you know, do they do a good job? I mean, I think most teachers do. I think most of them are committed. It wouldn't be fair to say, okay, we're gonna merge these three schools, and, you know, you guys all teach a certain, you know, certain things, so we don't need you two anymore, see ya. We're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize some of that merger money, and there'll be some kind of, you know, this is way down the road, but there'll be some kind of seasoned teachers that have a certain amount of time. We'll have some kind of a buyout program. We've got lots of teachers that in the next 3 to 5 years are gonna retire.
That is true.
We have lots of administrators and that type of thing. But when it's all said and done in 3 or 4 years, 5 years, we're gonna be lean, just like we are in each one of these districts. We are lean. You know, we manage our budgets well, but we can't, you know, when we're handcuffed by a 2% tax increase that the people have to vote on, you know, you guys don't have that. You know, very few places, they don't have that in Pennsylvania, a lot of other states. You know, our people, we present the budget, and then the people come out and say yes or no. It's not, you know, 25 or 30 legislators. So this is a very difficult task. And, you know, we're strapped, but it is what it is. But we're committed to the people that work for us. We're not gonna kick a bunch of people to the curb. You know, we're gonna do this the right way. But right now, we have community support. And we're gonna make sure that we, with your help, we will be able to get the answers that we need to satisfy most people. And we'll be able to, and the deliverable will be a merged school district. And we won't be the first at this, in this round right now. There's gonna be more in Chautauqua County that are gonna be in the same boat.
But the ultimate vision, still sounds to me, is those three schools, which are the center of three communities, at some point, and I'm asking the question, is the ultimate vision that at some point down the track, after you do what you can do with your facilities, we're gonna be looking at one place for those three communities?
Yes.
Well,
We
and
don't-
that's part of the study as
Right.
well. The study right now, we've asked for options, using existing facility, using a new facility, a combination, because we know that that's a complex issue, and we know that we need to address that repurposing if we are to go away from any of those buildings, but that's not an answer. I mean, I think we can say logically, we could see that way in the future, but we have a lot of steps along the way, and we have lots to look at and be
No,
careful
it's-
of.
Yeah, but that's just to the point that these are, you know, centers of communities.
Yes.
They are.
They very
Yes.
much are.
And
Yeah.
we're
Very-
very,
And-
we're very attuned to that.
And it comes up, you're not wrong. It comes up we've had 3 forum meetings, and it's come up at each forum meeting. We have an email address that people can put comments and answers to. It comes up in there as well. And that's why, as part of the request for the GRI funds, you'll see that it is for $12,000 for the repurpose, the building repurpose. It's the last
Analysis.
line, building repurpose analysis.
For either, you know, a whole building or part of a building, or a wing of a building, what could we do?
Yeah, and absolutely, that's good in terms of trying to be cost-effective, but I was really kind of after you gave me the answer, your eventual vision
Oh,
from a
Right.
community health perspective.
I see.
I mean, absolutely, you're doing the right thing, trying to, yeah.
I believe as well, too.
Yeah, I mean, even when we merge, you know, all the financial constraints we have as individual districts, we will still have in the merged district. But we'll be able to mitigate that because we'll have a bigger tax base and then less overhead and less labor over time. So over time, that's what's gonna happen.
Have you ever thought about selling it like this, where you consolidate and you can reduce the school taxes to your taxpayers in those 3 different school districts? I mean, me individually, I believe it's a balance. I know everybody's heart's in the right place.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Truly
Yeah.
believe that, because
Go
at the end of the day, it's 2 things. I know each of these school districts, from their reputation, the educators, the administrators, the athletics, the building departments, the people that plow and fix sidewalks and mow the football fields and the baseball fields, they're good people.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, those people need to make a living in those 3 different school
Yes.
districts. And the people that pay the taxes, they need to have reduction in their school taxes, because if not, they're leaving. They're
Well-
leaving. And then we look at, okay, the incentive from the state. Are we just kicking this down the can, or we really look at the elementary root cause of why it's so expensive? This is not the time or place for all that. I think the 3 of you have provided a level of comfort for me, and to take a gamble, because I want this to be the right one. I want this to be an example.
That's what we want.
But, man, I know a lot of educators, friends, and I just look at how difficult it is to save money. You have to cut labor, and you have to cut services, you have to pick up efficiencies, you have to get rid of, every district might have 2 or 3 little 1-ton dump trucks. What's gonna happen? There's just so many complex parts to this. And I'm gonna vote yes. I came in here thinking I wasn't going to. But I still would like feedback on each of the individual fund balances, because I get questioned all the time in my role as a legislator. We use this loose term, I'm not even gonna mention it. But right now in 2026, I'm appreciative of the fund balance that we have in Chautauqua County, because what I see coming down the pike for all kinds of reasons is really, really scary. I look at affordability long-term in my individual life and my family and the people in Chautauqua County. And school taxes are half of my property taxes where I live, so thank you.
But
Yes.
I just want to say one thing. I thank you for asking that question. I haven't shared this with them yet. But
Oh.
that question's gonna, we haven't had a meeting yet where someone said, are my taxes gonna go down with this?
Yes.
And you know what the answer to that is? Probably not. But if we don't do this, I can guarantee you, we're gonna be coming and asking you for an over-the-cap tax increase year after year after year, which, you know, we can probably hold the line for quite a while if we merge. But I can't promise you that we'll lower taxes.
Just a quick point. Obviously, the emotional vote is always gonna be out there in the municipalities. I mean, it just is what it is. Do you anticipate that softening as you guys continue to go down through this and giving answers to these communities as they bring these concerns up? Or do you see that growing as it gets closer to the actual merger of things?
I think it's supposed to be a dialogue, the process, and that's one of the reasons we have the consult, we thought it was very important to have this communication in the process, because we're gonna get this study, and then we're gonna take it out, and they're gonna give us feedback. And then we need to start some planning and some adjusting as we go, so that we have some response to that in that planning phase. And communicating that back to it has to be a dialogue with your community, and it has to be accurate information.
Sure.
So that, yes, that is the intention, is that you respond back
Here,
and adjust your plan.
the last 2 times we attempted this, what exacerbated the community feelings and sentiment, we were not able to provide answers. Well, 2 things: we weren't able to provide answers, and then we didn't have a coordinator that was basically a neutral person representing everybody. So if it was me talking at the meeting, the people from Panama and Sherman, that's that Clymer guy, we don't, whatever, type thing. So we had that problem, and this has alleviated that. And then we're trying to stay ahead of all the mistakes we made the last time, so that we have answers, and we're working on answers for all those anticipated questions, like the tax question.
And like
You know,
the
that-
building repurposing thing was because that directly came, it's been coming, they wanna know this. And
Sure.
so we
Right.
said, let's find out more information about that. So, yeah, important that we have that dialogue throughout the process.
Right, yeah, and realizing you're never gonna please everybody. I mean, it
No,
just kinda
no.
is what it is, but it's just one of those things that
Well,
has
it's
to
not
happen.
it's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, the other side has valid arguments.
Sure.
And now, an answer to them was, well, if you want to really maintain your community schools, then it's going to cost you more money. And a valid response to that would be, okay, raise my taxes. then that would just be a different vision. But, you know, I certainly understand where you are in terms of trying to give the kids the proper education. You gotta do that, you know, one way or the other.
Right. Would it be an ask, or would it be maybe out of line to ask if we can have an update of what's going on, let's say 4 months from now, 5 months from now, with what's happening? I think that'd be,
Oh,
for
we'd-
us, from a
Sure,
legislative
we'd like
group, I
to.
think from this committee and the rest of the legislature, I think it's gonna be important that we all know what's going on. If we commit to this, we're gonna wanna know, because
Yes.
it's a fair amount of money, and I don't want them coming after me. No,
It's absolutely.
Well, it's-
Well, we're gonna, in the contract, we're gonna have deliverables as part of that.
okay.
And we're also gonna be privy to meetings, reports, et cetera, so.
Okay.
through the
Well, that's
planning
good to know,
department.
because it's gonna be, we're gonna wanna be on top of this one, I think, going forward. I think it's important, so.
And it's important because I think this is the first one up
Yeah.
that we're doing it this
True.
way. And you're absolutely right on the numbers. Other communities are gonna be looking at the same
Mhm.
thing. So it's incumbent on us to do this one right.
I think so too. Well, if we have anything else, committee, are we ready to vote on this one here?
Excuse me, Lauren, you're part of these meetings on a regular basis?
Okay.
Yes.
I guess all those in favor of the $100,000 resolution that we're talking about?
Aye.
I'll say aye.
Aye?
If Lauren's on it, I'm for it.
Those opposed?
That's why I brought her.
Hearing none, the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you for your thoughtful
Sorry, I
questions.
messed that up. That was like, yeah, no, my bad. No.
I lived in Australia for a while. Oh, no, it's,
Thank you.
do you know how the
Thank you.
Pennsylvania system
Hands
is?
close. Thank you.
Thanks. You guys, this is the study.
That,
Okay.
next door neighbor did that. It was amazing.
All right, getting back to the agenda, folks.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the straight
This is
answer.
a good one.
Yeah, this
They
is,
both,
and it's important, so. Now, this next resolution, are we gonna amend by substitution?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay, resolution number 3. We'll read the resolution, and we're gonna amend the resolution by substitution. Resolution number 3 is to designate Chautauqua County as lead agency responsible for state environmental quality review of state-funded snowmobile trail updates for 2026, 2027 snowmobile season. Now, on our desk, we have an updated or a revised resolution we're going to amend. Well, I need a, can I get a motion to amend the resolution? Got a
I'll second it.
A second, okay, thank you so much for that. So, do we read the second amendment then, is what I do, or do we?
It's the same title. So the difference between the two, and thank you for doing an amendment, is Cherry Creek Snowgoers opted to do applications for 2 new trails. So you'll see what was added was Trail DBA Dipkas and Trail DBA Farrington Hollow. These are what we would classify right now as club trails. They're not state funded. The state has indicated that they don't anticipate increasing trail mileage, but the club does want to go through the formal process of submitting them to the state so that they're on record when the state is releasing additional funding for new trail miles. Every year, we participate in the Snowmobile Grant Aid Program. Part of that is if a trail moves, we are required to do a state environmental quality review. So in the case of the existing trails, so C1, S16A, both for Cherry Creek, C1, C1D, and S887 for lake effect, they are moving and they are affecting new property owners. So we need to designate Chautauqua County as the lead agency to complete that review.
Okay. Self-explained. Do we have any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the amended resolution?
All right.
Aye. Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution number 4 is authorizing public hearing regarding 2026 agricultural district inclusion.
So yearly, the Chautauqua County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board holds ag district inclusions during the month of January. This year, they received 4 requests. They were reviewed by the County Ag and Farmland Protection Board for recommendation to be included into the ag district. This resolution will set the public hearing for the April legislative meeting. At that point, anybody with public comments on them being added can speak at that. And later in April, the legislature would adopt a resolution to send that recommendation to Ag and Markets.
All right. Thank you, Lauren, for that. Do you have any questions, committee? Resolution proposed. All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Resolution number 5, is setting a second public hearing for Chautauqua County Micro Enterprise Assistance Program Community Development Block Grant. If you guys can please introduce yourselves, appreciate it.
Good evening, Nate Aldrich, Economic Development Coordinator.
Stephanie Nix, Special Projects Coordinator. So this is for authorizing a second public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Micro Enterprise Program. It's just a requirement through the CDBG program to have a minimum of 2 public hearings.
Okay. That's pretty much it?
Yes.
That's pretty easy.
Public hearings are good.
Public hearings are good. Do any questions, concerns, committee? No, hearing none. All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye. And Mr.
Resolution
Chairman.
is passed. Okay, resolution number 6 is the amended 2026 budget for Department of Planning and the Jamestown Airport.
So this was a 3% occupancy tax tourism product development grant. The airport applied for $15,000 to, for planning for the 2027 air show. They were awarded through the competitive process, and this is just to do an interfund transfer between planning department and the airport.
Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Okay. Do any questions, concerns, committee, on the resolution on the floor? Nope.
Love air shows.
What's that?
I love air shows.
I know you do. You're a pilot. You have a license.
Yes, sir.
All for it.
All those in favor of the resolution presented?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 7 is to amend the 26 budget to replenish the lake maintenance fund. And who do we speaking, do we need to speak, Mr. McCoy? Hello. Nice. Seen you in a while. Hi, Sam. You guys can introduce yourselves, I'd appreciate it.
Sam Zaffuto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Dave McCoy, Chautauqua County Watershed Coordinator.
All right, this is a budget amendment. As you know, last year essentially we created the lake fund in the budget with the idea that we would kind of go back forward and just bring back what we had unspent year to year. And this is the resolution doing this, essentially reestablishing the lake fund at $500,000 for the 2026 budget.
Okay.
So,
Any questions?
yeah,
Go ahead. Please,
you
Fred.
said that fast, I didn't follow.
Yeah.
So last year, we approved $500,000.
Yep, we approved 500.
Okay, and
We-
350 of that has been obligated, not
What
spent.
was spent last year, essentially.
Spent or obligated?
It was spent.
Okay, spent, cash out the door. Good.
Yep. And when we did the budget for this year, we had estimated spending only 300,000, which is essentially why the math doesn't work of the 350, 150. The estimate at that time was a little off. We thought we were gonna spend 300,000, not 350 essentially, so that is the difference, but it's taking the balance of the 150 we returned and an additional 50,000 to make it again whole to $500,000 for 2026.
But wait a minute, did we have in the budget $500,000?
No, this was where we budgeted 300,000 with the idea of taking the unspent balance year to year and moving it back forward, so.
Which would get you to 450.
Yeah, and that's the difference of that, difference of the estimate over the summer of the 50,000, which was honestly a project that was incorrectly assigned to the 2%, which was caught before year end, but after the budget of 50,000, so that's the reason for
So-
that discrepancy.
Why, if it's 50,000, why are we going to the fund balance for 200?
Oh, because that amount was, the estimate was off by that amount, so that, basically it's all coming from the fund balance. We returned 150, but we need 200,000 to
Oh, I
make it
get you.
whole.
So the net's 50.
Right.
You returned 150 and now
Yep.
you want 200 back, so you net
Exactly.
150, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Pretty self-explanatory. Do you have any
Well, it's-
questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Anything else?
So, I'll ask the question then. As tight as things are, should we do this, or should you just live with 50,000 less?
The 50 that we did use?
No.
No, he's saying instead of taking up to $500,000 again, just basically making it 450,000 for
Yeah.
this year.
Will
Okay.
would that work for you folks? Would that be an issue or problem?
That would essentially be up to the
We'll see how we
department.
get through the year, you know?
I'll make that motion if you like.
Yeah, no, if they're fine with it, I'm absolutely fine with it.
we have to amend that on the floor right now, Mr. Sheridan?
Is there any, what is?
You can propose an
Anybody
amendment
have
to the
any-
resolution, and then your amendment is
So-
adopted, it would go to the legislature as amended.
I guess I have a question. How would that affect these projects?
Yeah, that's the one, I mean, and I get
This
Fred's
amendment?
point. I get
Because
Fred's point.
I'm also gonna just say, in consultation and recommendation by our chairman, I'm gonna abstain. I think it's appropriate to abstain on this vote. I know for the Chadwick Bay Marina dredging permitting project, basically it was a grant awarded to City of Dunkirk. I think it was like 2 years ago. And we had, issue with the consultant that was gonna do the permitting, performing, and we never even went to contract, but one of their principals died, couldn't do it, and we had to go to a different consultant, so
Budget.
we're
Excuse me, Vince,
moving
you're
it
talking
forward.
about the next resolution, not
Is that,
Yeah, that's the next one.
is this the next one?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I apologize then. I
You're
thought
ahead,
it was-
you're out ahead of us.
Yeah.
thought it was this one.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for the clarification.
okay,
Thank you for,
you don't have to recuse yourself yet.
Not yet. Okay.
So, but yeah, I would, is it a motion?
you would make a motion to amend the resolution.
I would make a motion to amend the resolution to go,
Do we have a second on the proposed resolution that was just announced? Do we have a second on the motion announced just now, Fred?
450 rather than 500, stick to your budget.
Hearing no second?
All right,
It's defeated.
it's moot.
It's moot, so we're gonna go with, so we're gonna adopt or deny the resolution as presented for the amount that was requested. All those in favor of the original resolution that we just discussed first?
Aye.
Vince, you?
I want to say I'm in favor of it. Do you anticipate this 150 to 200 on an annual basis being put back into the fund? or-
That was the idea of this, would be kind of a rolling idea. So essentially, we'd be doing estimated July at budget time for what we would be spending through the end of the year. So hopefully we'd be able closer year to year, January, when we kind of do this going into the next year. But the idea would be this would be an annual replenishment
Keep
like
throwing
this.
it back in.
Like a safety net, just in case.
All those in favor of the resolution presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Carried. Thank you. Okay. Resolution number 8 is to amend the 26 budget occupancy
You're up.
tax funded projects.
You know, some years we don't get it all done. And the projects that you see here are basically remnants of, children of COVID, if you will, because we did the ARPA fund projects and those sorts of things, and we overburdened our stakeholders, and finally, at this point, we're ready to get those rolling. However, we're rolled into the next budget year, so we're working on to correct that with this, you know, in order to get the money in place first, and then we'll renew our contract, so this is the first step to do that. All 5 of these totaled $125,920.
Okay. Do we have any questions on the resolution?
You know,
Committee.
as a point, Chairman, I mean, you look at the amount of money, what it costs to buy this equipment to do this type of work, to pay the labor to do this type of work, the permits it requires to do this type of work, and to make all the timing happen. So some of these are, you know, they appear to be affordable. But having a little idea how some of this works, you look at this, and I'm in agreement with it, and, you know, these are for individual projects. We had up 4 each year as we go forward. These are all positive improvements to what we're doing.
Okay. In favor?
I can buy into this.
Okay, great.
But is this the same situation that we budgeted in 2025?
Yeah,
We
this-
didn't
this-
spend it, so
Absolutely the same. This was money essentially in the 2025 budget from the 2% that did not get spent, that's being returned and now taken back out here.
So the cumulative spending over the 2 years is as budget.
Yeah, this actually, we are finishing slightly under, even counting this in. The final reconciliation is not done of the occupancy tax yet. The first deputy's still working on that, but it looks like we've underspent slightly, factoring even in this rollover for 2025.
Yep.
Okay, great. All those in
Mr.
favor?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before you vote, this legislator DeJoy needs to make a comment.
Yes. Oh, you're gonna recuse?
Again, given the fact that I am directly involved with the Chadwick Bay Marina dredging permitting project as the Director of Planning and Development for the city of Dunkirk, I feel it's appropriate to abstain from voting on this in this committee and next week in our general session.
Noted. Thank you, Vince. All those in favor of the resolution? Aye. Yes, thank you very much.
Ed's gonna join us for this next one.
Okay, next one? Okay, great. Okay, the next resolution. Number 9, resolution.
I'm not double dipping.
That was,
Same shirt,
that was gonna be my first question, sir.
So this resolution is to authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Minot. We are using Lake Fund monies, they're already appropriated, should be enough to do it. Ed, tell us your tale of woe.
So, and I've been coming to the legislature for money for Finley Lake. I'm president of the Finley Lake Watershed Foundation also. We identified, two major, culprits in Finley Lake that we have very poor water quality in the summertime. As you know, as bad as anybody's, probably worse than most. One of them was lack of public sewers. We have gravel ground, septic tanks, it doesn't mix groundwater into the lake, really super high elevated levels of nutrients. We have, it took us 20 years, we've got sewers coming. It's, with the county's help. The county helped us with that. And I would be remiss not to say that when our dam was failing 10 years ago, without the county's help, we probably wouldn't have Finley Lake there because we were gonna lose that dam. Our other problem is we have, and this is something that's come up, you know, I mean, it can become more prevalent, but it's a big problem, and that's, we have locked-in phosphorus that's bound to iron on the bottom of our lake. And when our lake stratifies and goes anoxic in the summertime, then it releases the phosphorus. The way you can combat that by oxygenating the water. This is the next to the last step for us to be able to oxygenate Finley Lake. This will be a demonstration DEC's been very supportive of us through this. This will be a demonstration project because if this does what we think it's gonna do, it's gonna be a game changer. And we've been able to fund this through grants from DEC and other places, but for this, we're gonna need some help from the county to get this last part of the engineering and study done.
And the town is providing 50% match.
Okay, which is good. I just have a couple questions. One,
Sure.
how many residents reside around that, around Finley Lake, and how large is Finley Lake? I mean, just
Finley
for my
Lake's
own-
about 320 acres. I think there's, this is I think there's about 320 homes in the sewer district, so that's pretty much what's, how many people are around Finley Lake. However, Finley Lake has a fairly robust business community. It's the gateway into to the state. We have a lot of short-term rentals that are, and that's growing, you know, generating income and helping the community. We've got Peak and Peak in our, you know, is up 2 miles down the road from us. So it's a viable community, and we've got Mapleville Farms. They've broken ground, and they're gonna start putting in footers next week.
So lake maintenance is very critical, it's important to have that
It's
lake
critical,
maintained,
yeah.
so, okay, great.
But, yeah, and, you know, the rentals and the peak, they're very significant occupancy tax revenue generators.
Okay,
Fair.
which is good. Very good.
to what extent are dairy farms an issue with effluent coming on into the lake?
We have one major dairy farm up on, Chad Schofield's farm up on the hill. Chad has been extremely helpful and has worked with us in controlling what's coming into the lake. But this is just a little fact that Dr. Mike Wilson from SUNY Fredonia told us 15 years ago. So you look at obviously there's runoff. You can combat that by using chisel plows that inject, and there's a lot of things to do to control that runoff. Plus, Chad's very cognizant of what he does, and he tries to minimize the impact into Findlay Lake for us. However, what's been done up on that farm, that's been a farm forever. 50, 75 years ago, what got into the groundwater still hasn't made it to Findlay Lake yet, because the groundwater only moves a foot a month. So we're gonna, that whatever that is, that's been happening for forever, and so he's been mitigating, but for us to see any real changes in the lake, it won't be in our lifetimes from what's going on at the farm. However, the septic tanks right around Findlay Lake, that will be in a year. A lot of that will happen right away.
Sure.
Just a
But-
question, when is the start on
On
your sewer system?
sewer, at the town board meeting last Thursday, the engineers had they presented their final plan. They identified they've identified where all their pump stations are gonna go. They've got, they don't have signed lease or agreements, but they're there. They think they're gonna go out at the end of late spring, early summer for bid, and then they're
Dig in the fall?
maybe.
Or dig spring of
Yeah, they
27?
weren't sure if contractors would start, but
Sure.
they think the lion's share, the construction will be in 27, then there'll be a little bit of buttoning up in 28.
So full disclosure, Chad's a tenant of mine.
Oh,
He looks after my land pretty well. Mm-hmm. But is he chiseling all his manure in?
not all.
Okay, in the wintertime, because that's one of the things I notice around Chautauqua County is, especially in the winter, it gets spread around and then you get a thaw and a rain and it all
There
shoots
it goes,
straight
yeah.
into the creeks.
Yeah.
And that should not be.
Right. But I'm sure, and I don't know that much about his business, but, we only really have two people in our watershed that spread and do that. We have, a farmer by the name of Jackson that leases land at the backside of the lake. And he's real good about what he does and chisels it in. And Chad's been really good about what he does and very attentive to what he's doing and his impact on the lake. So we're real happy. We're fortunate that we have conscious people farming around us.
But anyway, I think your answer is Chad's doing the best he can, but we're still getting runoff. And same for the other guy.
Yeah, but now, the thing is though, and this is what's kind of interesting. Chad's runoff comes into the lake almost, within 300 or 400 yards of the flume of going back out into French Creek. Now, the other guy, he's all the way at the other end of the lake, but he doesn't farm near as much ground. So you would think that end of the lake where Chad, if that was a real big problem, that end of the lake would be horrible. It's really not. We attribute most of our problems to septics. And all the studies that have been done and DEC's done, that's where they attribute it to. They don't really place a lot of the loading in the farms.
I mean, of course, you got French Creek downstream. As a consideration too. Anyway, thanks.
Yep.
Is there more questions?
Yeah,
concerns, committee?
just
Go ahead,
one other.
John, please.
Do you guys have municipal water?
No.
No, okay. So how are the sanitary sewer bills? I mean, how is that gonna be distributed? A monthly fee, a one-time hookup fee? I mean, the ongoing operating costs. and
So
how
I'm,
we-
I'm real proud of this. We actually, for the sewers, we received enough full grant funding that we're able to do the whole project, plus all the hookups at the houses. So,
Outstanding.
That's great.
yeah, so everything, so it's gonna be, we're gonna have I mean, there's been numbers bannered around, but maybe like a $60-70 a month bill for O&M, but,
And the only reason I ask that, I think there's other small communities in Chaco County can use what you guys are doing as an example. That's why I just asked that question.
mhm.
Thank you.
So, if we have any questions, concerns, committee?
One last thing, and I'm obviously not an engineer by any means, but once people are hooked up, are they gonna then remediate said septic tanks and whatnot in the ground, or are they just gonna fill them in with sand, or pump them out, or just be allowed to leach out over
It'd
time?
be like a
or-
DEC thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so my understanding from what the engineers have told us is they've already been around all this past summer, last year, and they contacted all the people that are in the district, and they located because everybody's gonna have to provide power out to the grinder if they're on a grinder pump. It's a hybrid system, some of it's gravity, some of it's grinder, but and then they spotted where their grinder tanks are gonna go. The existing septic tanks, they'll be pumped and then filled full of sand and gravel and left in the ground. Now, I guess if you put one in 2 or 3 years ago and you thought there was some value to taking it out,
Take
you
it out,
could,
sell
but,
it.
you know, I don't know that there's a good market for used septic tanks. Which was a, you know, that was a big issue for us with this, and very similar to what what happens with these, you know, any type, well, and I'm preaching to the choir, but, you know, the people that were against the sewers, there was a handful of people, and they were the people that had to put the $30,000 hybrid systems in the last 5 years. You know, so they're being asked to take that $30,000 and
Just eat it.
abandon it, yeah, and that's a tough pill.
That's too bad. So. Any more questions, concerns, committee? All those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you in the morning, Dave.
All right.
Resolution number
Our next resolution is related to the federal cost share for the aquatic ecosystem restoration feasibility for Chautauqua Lake.
Thanks for reading that, sir. I was gonna read it for you, but you got it, so, go ahead.
To make a long story short, we've been working very hard for many years to attract federal investment in Chautauqua Lake, and this opportunity does that. It's a $3 million study, it will last 3 million years. 3 years, we're in year 2 of it. And our cost share should be higher, but it's not. And the reason it's not is because with the realignment of Army Corps priorities by the current administration, a lot of projects have fallen by the wayside. That freed up a little bit of money, unused funds for us. So instead of paying $500,000 in year 2, we're paying $50,000. So I think it's a pretty good deal. You know, we recently returned from DC, where we advocated for a year mark in 2027. That'll be for $600K, which should get us through the rest of the project. On the federal side, we'll still have to come up with a similar amount of funds internally, but it is what it is.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions, concerns?
So, yeah, just the lake fund, what's the balance in that? How much have we spent? How much we got left to go?
Well, as of a few minutes ago, it was $450 because we were looking to get it refunded to $500,000. Of that $500,000, $300 is gonna be contracted to Chautauqua Lake Association for early season maintenance. The $50 that we talked about in the previous resolution with Ed, is going there, and, excuse me, the $27.5, and this $50 will also come from the lake fund. You know, these are the kind of things we typically would have pulled from the 2% occupancy tax reserve, but we kind of shot ourselves in the foot at the last minute 2 years ago. We decided to pull it out of the reserve and instead of the general fund, which probably would have been a more appropriate use. And it's impacted our stakeholders because we haven't had the flexibility and the ability to do other projects.
Right.
What I would call opportunity and special need, take care of these things. But we're finding our way through it.
Good, very good. Any more questions, concerns, committee? All those in favor of the resolution, Rose?
Aye.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
David, thank you so much for your time, appreciate it. Last resolution on the docket tonight is the authorizing entry into agreement with the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency for the I-90 Veterans Memorial Commerce Park in Ripley.
So, I know you're all aware, maybe, Mr. Merritt less than the rest of you, that we have been working on a site in Ripley, 150 acres, $16 million project to get it shovel-ready. You know, we got county money through ARPA, the IDA has money in it, $1 million, ARC, federal money, about $3 million. The state of New York, $5.25 million. And we thought we were gonna get a $3 million EDA grant. All indications were that we were going to get it, and then there was government shutdown and furloughs and everything else, and we ended up not getting that. So we've scaled the project back, but nonetheless, we still have a funding, a little bit of a funding gap. The county approved through the capital funding process in 2024, you know, between those 2 years, $720,000 for the use on industrial parks. So it's sitting there. We need it transferred over to the IDA so that we can pay the bills that are gonna start piling up here. The project, and I'm gonna talk about it in our presentation a little more, is out to bid right now. The bid closing is on Tuesday next week, and the contractor will get going soon thereafter, and we're gonna have bills to pay. So that's what this money's for, and that's what we're asking to get over there so we can use it.
Pretty
All right.
self-explanatory. Any questions there?
Sure.
Go ahead, Fred.
So, and maybe Pierre can help. When this 720,000 balance was budgeted and appropriated in '24 and '25, when we were well aware of what the projected needs for the Ripley project were. So I would then assume that that 720 was headed for something other, at least in our minds, something other than the Ripley project.
In our presentations to the planning board and our capital requests, we're obviously, you know, utilizing the county's commitment of capital and ARPA funds to leverage, right? We got another $9 million in state and federal and national grid grants coming in. So, you know, we did utilize that. It was always our intention to seek as many grants as we could. And now this 700,000, consistent with capital budget, get this project over the finish line and get going. We have several other shovel-ready efforts in the works as well that we're, again, looking at grants and looking outside of county government to support those endeavors as well.
You lost me. I mean, I understand we're looking for grants and that's great. But this sounds to me like an increased county commitment. And hey, I'm the legislator for the district, so I'm happy to put money there. But it sounds to me like an increased county commitment to that project above and beyond what we intended back in '24 and '25. Is that right or not?
No, because it was always generally appropriated for developing shovel-ready sites. So while it didn't say Ripley, it didn't specify anywhere. So,
No, I know, but since we were well aware of what you had presented, by then what you thought Ripley was gonna cost.
well, we could have way back then, we didn't ask for it specifically for Ripley.
No,
Right? So we could have, a year ago or 2 years ago, asked for it to be, you know, appropriated over to the IDA for Ripley. But we didn't do it back then. We're doing it now because we didn't really know how much we would get. We're trying not to use, you know, we're trying to get as much grant money as we can, and we have over $9 million. And there's still a little bit of a funding gap. to get the project over the finish line. That's what this money's for.
Okay. I have the other question, and again, my memory serves, at some point, the county promised to back a $5 million loan for this project.
Yep.
Have we disbursed that loan?
No, so you approved that through the resolution. It's going to our IDA board. We had to work out what the details are of that. What's the interest rate? What's the term? How's it get paid back? Principal, et cetera, et cetera. We got that all worked out. We worked with Steve Abdallah. We worked with the finance department, got that all figured out, agreed on it. Now it needs to go to the board on Tuesday next week, the IDA board, to approve that agreement.
Got it.
That bond agreement. Then it'll all be in place. And by the way, there's a mortgage on the property as well, backing that up.
Right, so that was my question. Does that agreement keep the county whole should
Yes.
something go south?
Yep,
As we agreed back then?
yep.
All right, and do we get to look at this agreement after you guys have approved
Sure.
it?
Sure, we can
I
do
mean,
that.
as part of going through the legislature, or is it?
No, it's already been approved by the legislature. So,
This is just a release.
you know, it's, yeah, it
So
just
just-
needs to go to the IDA.
So, yeah, I'd appreciate that, just to make sure that in fact it's what we thought we agreed to.
I'll take
I'd
care
be
of it.
glad to get it
Okay.
over to you.
I'll take care of
Good.
it.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions, concerns on the resolution proposed? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Thank you. Guys.
Thank you, thank you all.
Okay, I think the next item on
This is only gonna take an hour.
beautiful. Let's go. We want, there's another presentation, it's a fast, well, you want to do yours?
Oh, there is
Should we do the
one
charter
other.
one first, Mr. Sheridan, or should we?
Have a presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here you go, sir.
There's two presentations, I thought, though.
Good.
Yeah, that's what
Oh, Kitty's first. Oh, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I was gonna do, is Kitty's first, real quick. She'll be
Yeah,
a few
yeah, yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Or we can do that, then I'll have you
I'm
guys done.
sorry.
It's just a few minutes, that's all.
Yep.
I know you're comfortable, Mark, but I gotta give you keep it up.
No, my bad.
Okay. All right, great. Yeah, this is, just take off hands. All right, this is Kitty.
We can do that, maybe it's short, just a few minutes, that's all. I know you're comfortable, Mark, so I don't want to.
All right. Kitty, you there?
Yes, I am.
We are ready for you.
Let me turn this other one off. Okay, good evening. I'm here, as a representative of the, Administrative Code and Charter Review Commission. The commission is convened about every 10 years. And as you know, you've already adopted changes to the county charter. I believe you all have received, red line changes, proposed changes to the administrative code. The process for that, the administrative code changes, for any of you who are unfamiliar, is that changes are submitted to the clerk of the legislature, and then the legislature may object to changes by a 2/3 vote. Otherwise, the changes become effective within 30 days of the date they're filed with the legislature. So that's kind of just a brief summary of the overall process. If you've already reviewed what was submitted, there was quite a number of changes. There was a lot of cleanup that we looked at, outdated language, and we really worked hard to bring it, up to current practice. Just a few examples of that is that the county executive's cabinet, for example, it stated that specific positions be on the cabinet, and the commission looked at that, and our recommendation was that it be at the discretion of the county executive. Other examples of some cleanup type things to current operations is with respect to the finance department and our reorganization a couple of years ago. So that's now reflected as with the responsibilities of under the director of finance. And Another thing that we did would make some changes to the budget procedures that were identified. We didn't really change the procedures, but what we did is, and similar in the charter, was that the budget procedures after the tentative budget is delivered were described in part in the charter as well as in admin code and separately in another local law. So like we did with the charter, in the administrative code, we proposed to just refer to that local law for the budget procedures after the tentative budget is delivered. Subsequent to this administrative code being adopted, that those changes to the local law as well will be submitted for the legislature's review. I'm not going to go through like all the little details of all the changes, but if any of you have reviewed it and have any specific questions, I'm happy to help answer those. So I will open it up to you at this time.
Does anybody have
Any questions?
The committee? I'm not hearing any, I'm not hearing or seeing anybody on this with any questions, so.
This isn't different than what we've gone through before, right?
Right, this is just revision of the charter, right, and changes in the charter.
We've all already seen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the process is, as Kitty explained, that the county executive implements the changes to the administrative code, and the legislature has 30 days to object to those changes. Because there's so many changes now from the commission, recommendations from the commission, I asked the commission members to present to each of the committees, and again at the legislature meeting, so in case there were questions, we could get ahead of the county executive issuing them, and then have to object.
Right.
So this gives us an opportunity to say, hey, we don't like that particular change, can you consider doing that differently before the county executive issues the changes to the administrative code.
Got it, okay.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
Thank you, Kitty.
Sure. And so just to, kind of, follow up on Pierre's remarks, by the next week's meeting, we would, if there are, changes that the legislature would like us to consider, we can incorporate those. Otherwise, the intent would be to file with the legislature the presented changes, and then that 30-day period would start next week.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay. If you do have any follow-up questions after tonight, please feel free to reach out to me.
All right, thanks again, Kitty, for that. Certainly appreciate your time tonight.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. I think we're ready for the next presentation. Due to time constraints, you guys have 4 minutes.
She's just gonna put it on so everyone can view it.
So you should probably sit down.
Has to figure these out and we'll pass them on after the presentation's completed. My apologies.
We've got a few new faces. We need to have some introductions now.
Guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Jason Sample, Marketing and Communications Coordinator for the IDA and the Partnership for Economic Growth.
Rebecca Worster, Planning Coordinator for the county's Department of Planning and Development and for the partnership.
Josiah Lamp, Program Manager for the Partnership for Economic Growth.
You know us.
We do.
So what we're gonna do is we have a presentation, and we're gonna go fairly quickly through this. In the years past, we would talk about, when I'd talk about the IDA, I'd go through all the different projects that we worked on and all that. But last year, we sort of adjusted that. We're gonna talk primarily about the money that we receive from the county and what we're doing with that. Okay, what are the outcomes of that? And there's really two parts to that. There's sort of the IDA, and then there's the partnership. Then there's a second phase, which I am gonna talk, we're gonna pass out our annual report, and then I'm gonna talk, not in depth, but talk about, sort of some of the projects that we accomplished in 2025, what are some of our goals moving forward at the IDA? And then the B part of that is the same thing with the partnership. What things have they accomplished and what are some of their goals, okay?
Some more technical difficulties?
Didn't realize we watched Netflix at the county.
I like that.
Oh, man.
Got one more episode left. Through 9 episodes right now.
Would be the HDMI. You already tried that one? This is an HDMI hookup, so I'm assuming that you might want to try the HDMI connection.
Becca, are you going tomorrow?
Where's the popcorn?
Salamanca, they usually have some kind of amazing food for us, don't they?
Are you being facetious?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come on, I don't.
Things are a little different down in Cadrox County.
Yes, we can. The only thing, Olivia, the source thing is still up. I don't know if you need the remote to close the menu.
The menu on the bottom half is still blacking out the screen.
There we go.
There you
Hey, thank you.
Okay,
Click.
click. Our missions, the IDA is a public authority. We're trying to improve the conditions for the residents. We have various tools to do that. We're trying to create jobs, retain jobs, help businesses. Critic is a component of the IDA. It's this 501c3 branch. It enables us to do different things that the IDA can't do. And under the Critic umbrella is the Partnership for Economic Growth, which is a public-private partnership, which we're getting funding through a lot of foundations, grants, et cetera. We're pushing that money back out into the communities to help them with technical assistance, with matching funds, et cetera. Next. This just, we put this in there really last year. The IDA is a separate entity from the county. It has its own board. It's governed by the state, really, through the public authority, the state controller's office, and others. And the legislature has power, if you will, over us by the money you give us, of course, but also the legislature has to approve the board members. And so that's sort of something that in 1997, Steve Abdella clarified for the legislature. Okay, next. This is important, that we only have so much control over, the projects that we do from year to year. We can't create the jobs ourselves, right? We're trying to incentivize businesses to invest here and create jobs and so, there are a lot of different factors, whether it be state and local tax burden or regulations. You can see some of the numbers up here. Declining population, state, local, and just economic uncertainty in general. Next. This is sort of an infographic, 2025 by the numbers. New jobs created in 2025 through work that the IDA did, 639, 39 of which were permanent full-time, 600 construction, about 243 jobs retained, about $85 million in investment in the county, $2.6 million secured through various grants, almost $5 million of payments through the pilot program to the taxing jurisdictions, 9 projects that we did, 2 of which were loans, and the rest were pilot incentives. Next. So Jason's gonna talk about the funding that we get from the county. And that's both the business development assistance and promotion, $165,000, and the tourism business and destination development and promotion, $80,000.
Yeah, sure, thanks, Mark. The boilerplate information there is also the information that you all had in your resolutions when you approved this funding in December of 2025, and then in this case, for the 2025 funding, that goes all the way back to December of 2024. So this shouldn't be anything new to you. It just kind of reminds us of what we are required to use this funding for when it comes to promoting economic development in Chautauqua County. So I threw that on there just as a reminder that this is what the resolution indicated that we use it for, and this is kind of what our guidelines are for when we determine how to appropriate our funding. So next slide, please. And then so using that as a guideline, these are just some of the different types of ways that we appropriate the money. We do what we call the publicity and promotion component, which is the second one down there. That's really utilizing our partnerships and also, or pardon me, that's utilizing advertising for local, regional, national print. We also use it for TV streaming to promote the Live CHQ campaign, digital marketing on various platforms, signage, billboards, typical marketing that you would try to utilize and leverage to get the messaging out there for what Chautauqua County is doing and what the IDA is doing to promote economic development as well as our services. So we want to market Chautauqua County as a great place to do business and also to live, so that kind of ties in with our Choose CHQ and Live CHQ campaigns that launched in the middle of 2024 and carried on throughout 2025. We also do some collaborative marketing with various economic development and advocacy agencies. We leverage the funding that the county gives us to work with Empire State Development or New York State Economic Development Council, Invest Buffalo Niagara, which is a regional economic development corporation, the Small Business Development Center, Chautauqua Works, Builders Exchange of the Southern Tier, Chautauqua County Visitors Bureau, the CHQ Chamber, as well as even the Chautauqua Cattaraugus Board of Realtors. We apply this marketing funding in different ways with these stakeholders, again, to leverage them to help promote what we're doing at the IDA level and also promote Chautauqua County as a whole as a viable place to do business. And then we just do some contractual professional services as well with Kellogg Design, who does a great job, not only with our annual report, but if you remember, we did the Impact ARPA funding project where we talked about all of the county's ARPA money. We created that book in collaboration with Chautauqua County in 2025. That was Kellogg Design who really threw that book together for us and did a great job presenting how all of that money was spent. We work with Clever Method, which is a group out of Buffalo that hosts our website for us, and they do a great job, again, promoting what Chautauqua County's doing. And then we also work with a local contractor, E-Rose Studios, to help us out with the Live CHQ campaign on social media. Not on the slide here, but just a really quick budget by initiative. We do general CCIDA services. About $64,000 was spent just to promote what the IDA is doing. Shovel-ready marketing, we wanted to start getting the word out about what we're doing with Ripley as well as Mason. That was $20,000 in 2025. And also just CCIDA support funding, which is those different agencies I mentioned, whether it be Empire State Development or Invest Buffalo Niagara, et cetera. That was $42,000. And then Live CHQ was just over $100,000. But again, that was the first year of the campaign. I kind of equated to getting the rocket into the air, where you had to get a lot of momentum behind it and a lot of funding behind it to get a lot of the different pieces in place. If you remember my presentation in December of 2025, we've scaled back the Live CHQ funding and have really ramped up shovel-ready marketing for this year. But we're focusing on 2025 in this presentation, and that's the general nuts and bolts of how we've spent the money. Next slide, please.
So, I talked about Ripley, 148 acres, 3,000 linear foot access road, gas, water, sewer, electric upgrades. It's gotta be extended 2 miles, expensive, by the way. The cost is just under $16 million. Like I said, all the engineering was done. It was put out to bid openings on Tuesday of next week. And we hope to get the work underway in the next month and a half or 2. But certainly be done this year. Next slide. This is sort of a sources and uses. Well, where'd we get the money? 4.8 million of ARPA, 1.2 of capital projects, $1 million from the IDA, grant funding secured. Talked about the ARC, 2 different grants there, $5.25 million from the state, Empire State Development through their Fast New York program, and a National Grid grant as well. The uses, property acquisition, you can see there, 4.2, environmental due diligence, 125,000, almost 11 million for all that, the road, water, sewer, closing costs, financing costs, fees to Empire State Development, National Grid Electric Interconnect Study, signage, landscaping, et cetera. So that's how the money's gonna be spent. Next slide. Mason Industrial Park, this is about 40 acres. And we did all the environmental due diligence as phase 1. We got that done. We teamed up with the county on that, and then we also teamed up with the county on actually getting the phase 2. But so phase 1, $140,000. You can see all the stuff you got to do. There's a lot to it, but we got that done, resulting in a generic environmental impact statement for the project. So it's pre-permitted, and that's a key to this. Next slide. You can see 600 linear feet of gas line, telecommunications, 100-foot asphalt road, water main, gravity sewer, storm water management, erosion control, mobilization, about a $500,000 project. Get that done. And you can sort of, next slide. And you can see here sources and uses. Phase 1, the subtotal. You want to talk through this one, Nate?
Again, the pre-development environmental phase was about $140,000. We finalized that last summer, and then this legislature approved the $500,000 of ARPA funding last year, and that the uses are outlined on the right side there. Really stubbing in an access road, extending water, sewer, and natural gas from not too far away. So obviously a much cheaper endeavor compared to Ripley.
Okay.
Much cheaper per acre too, right?
Well, we already own the land.
Aha. Well, that was part of it.
Yeah,
Even-
so
even
much
so, but-
cheaper. Yeah. Just reminding, the legislature here, I know this is a little outdated, but in 2024, we were ranked as the #1 development agency in the region. I'm proud of this because we're 1/10 the size of Erie County, and we outperformed them. So that was pretty significant. Next slide.
I'm going to breeze through this. Josiah and I are going to tag team a little bit about the partnership. I know most of you know about the partnership. Jason, happy to touch base offline, answer any questions. But basically, as Mark alluded to, we have a public-private partnership created under the IDA's 501c3 arm, CRITIC, and we convene partners, municipalities, nonprofit, economic, housing, tourism,
other partners throughout the county on a regular basis to talk about coming together, what are our challenges, priorities, strategies, and then most importantly, what are the projects that are going to move the needle in this county. And we're sort of organized again with County Department of Planning and Development and IDA support, but we have dedicated employees under the umbrella of Critic, and we're proud that we've established some great relationships with philanthropic partners, including Gebby Foundation, Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, and especially the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, which has given us significant resources in the last 5 years, over $3 million to fund a team of about 4.5 people that are, again, not paid for by taxpayer dollars, right? We're thinking outside the box, being creative, enhancing our capacity to do more to assist our partners and bring more resources into the county. Next slide. We have 5 work groups: business development, placemaking, workforce, housing, and infrastructure, and we convene partners in these work groups, probably 24 or so on average in each one, 3 to 4 times a year, where we're, again, talking about priorities, specific projects, bringing in guest speakers to talk about best practices, having local stakeholders, municipalities share about their successes and how they've attacked projects. So it's a really effective mechanism for us to advance our work. Next slide. I'm going to hand things over to Josiah, but before I do, just highlighting what we accomplished last year. Again, this is just last year, but cumulatively, we've now surpassed $50 million of leverage funds coming into the county that most likely wouldn't have without our support and encouragement of collaboration and our help with leveraging these funds to come in. So again, last year, helping our partners get access to over $6 million of funds for community and economic development projects, 163 community meetings, 17 direct grants awarded. Again, a lot going on, and the partnership itself, we secured about $450,000. So before I introduce Josiah, again, we're really looking forward to continuing this momentum. We've accomplished quite a bit in the last 6 years with the support of our IDA and Critic boards. Thank you, Tom, and others. Really, we think this is a good model. Josiah and I are actually sharing kind of what we've come up with as a model for other rural communities to bring more resources in, and we'll be sharing that actually tomorrow to the Great Lakes Economic Development Council. So we are getting some attention. I mentioned our Wilson commitment. With our second-year grant, we were able to bring Josiah on as a full-time dedicated program manager last August to kind of take over and manage all the day-to-day, which has grown and is a lot of moving parts. So without further ado, Josiah.
Yep, thanks, Nate.
Next slide.
This just details a little bit more the different funding sources that we received this year. You know, our two community foundations, Gebby and CCF, who have supported our work. And then I'll just note that the Ralph Wilson Foundation is not mentioned here because we're under a multi-year grant from them, and so we received the funding in 2024, but they are still, you know, our most significant financial partner. Next slide. And then these are some of the county funds that have gone into Critic through the partnership that I wanted to highlight. One is the New York Forward and DRI application assistance. So what we've been able to do in recent years is fund a consultant or consultants to help our villages or towns in preparing an application, a really competitive application for the New York Forward program. This is actually what we were able to do with the Village of Westfield, and they were awarded in 2025 the $4.5 million from the New York Forward program, which is part of that money that we mentioned earlier in dollars leveraged. So very pleased for Westfield to achieve that, and then we're holding, you know, our fingers crossed and hoping for Faulkner, Sherman, and Mina that they might be one of the awardees this year as we look at it.
We helped Dunkirk as well with their DRI, so.
In Jamestown,
And
this year with their
Jamestown.
application.
We'll cross our fingers on that one too.
We also supported a wave attenuation study for Dunkirk Harbor, and are working with the Village of Casadega on a downtown master plan that again could help tee up for future projects for the village. that's under, with the placemaking funds, with the Greenway Development Funds, we primarily are working to bring together the different Greenways groups, and we found working with our consultant, Jacob Ogway, that he has been very successful in bringing those groups together and then looking for other sources of funding that could benefit our different trails.
There's been about $1 million so far spent in improving those trails. Because they were in bad shape, and they've done a lot of work.
As Nate alluded to before, we're about 5 years into the partnership, and so at this point, the Wilson Foundation came to us and said, hey, we'd like to write a report with you to do a case study, and they really see some of the work that we've done as a model for rural economic development, and wanted to promote that out in their network and beyond. And so we've worked with a consultant as well as the Wilson Foundation to put together this case study. We're rolling it out in the next week or so, so that's why I'm bringing it up here. But it really positions our county as a leader in rural economic development and explains some of the lessons that we've learned through the partnership so far. Not that we're experts in everything, but I think there are things that we've been able to find success in. Next slide. Because rural communities across our country are facing many of the same challenges that we are. Next slide. And this just highlights part of our work, which is what we call locally the Economic Growth Fund, which is a pot of funds that the Wilson Foundation has granted to us and that we re-grant out in the community to economic development projects, anything from $4,000 to $50,000. 60 projects have advanced over the course of the partnership, and the leverage ratio is that for every $1 of this Wilson funds, 46 other dollars are put in towards projects. So thank you.
So that's it. So part 2 of this, if you wouldn't mind passing this out, and we'll go through this. It's been a long night. We'll go through this quickly.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna touch on, and you can take this home, and if you have any questions, you need further clarification, you can contact me directly. If you go to page 4, I'm just gonna point to a couple of these things. Some of these we've already talked about, but Maple Vale Farms is building a new facility, $42 million down in Mina, Clymer area, Finley Lake, and we've been very involved in that project. They were busting at the seams in the town of Ellicott. They had bought a piece of land in Pennsylvania. They were about to pull the trigger on doing all the engineering. In fact, they did a fair amount of the engineering on that site. We were able to convince them to stay and look at Chautauqua County and help them find a parcel, and there's been the electric part of it was complicated as well. So we've been really active in that project. They're going to create 23 new jobs and retain 213. Talked about shovel-ready sites. Let's see. We had the grand opening of the White Inn. That was a big deal. Saved that from the wrecking ball. We got a lot of money for brownfield cleanup, $1 million for our revolving loan fund, and another $500,000 for site assessments. Updated the county-wide economic development strategy. That was a big lift. We've got a number of new housing projects. One is Silver Creek School. That was a long-term project. Tom certainly knows about that. Absolutely. Boy, it's beautiful. If you haven't driven by that, it's very impressive. 54 units, senior housing, $20 million project. And, there's other projects that are currently going on at the Welch's building, Gateway Lofts, the Regan Development projects in Dunkirk, 2 of them. There's the Central Avenue, the old bank building, housing project. So we're really doing a lot in the housing space. We hired Josiah, very pleased with the work he's doing. And then, you know, like always, we're gonna continue, and Jason talked about it, continue to market the county for business development, relocation, and tourism. Very important. So, you know, as we look forward to 2026, you know, we're always aggressive with our businesses. We contact them at least annually, sit down with them, find out what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, so we know how we might be able to help if we can. We're gonna continue. I talked about these 2 shovel-ready sites, but we're working on another very large site. It's not one and done in that world. You gotta keep going, because somebody could come along and buy, you know, that 148 acres, and now we don't have anything, right? So we always have to keep looking forward. You know, we really, you know, there's some beautiful old buildings and not that they have to be old, but there's a lot of buildings around the county that we wanna do our best to try to get them back into productive use. The Furniture Mart building, I already talked about Silver Creek School, Lakeshore Hospital in Irving, with the Main Road Medical Group, working with them, the Truck Light building in Ellicott, we're working on that, we got something going on. The Welch's building, I already talked about that, the housing product, Serta Simmons, I just toured that last week. And, you know, we've got some nibbles on that, and so we'll continue to work with the realtors, meeting with developers, talking about incentives, et cetera. Hotel Lenhart, that's underway. I'm really excited about that. It's gonna be a showpiece. Immunity Bio and Electrovia. You know, Electrovia is rocking and rolling. They're in the process this year of hiring dozens of people. They got all their financing. They closed on their IDA loan, their IDA incentives. Immunity Bio is, the state just renegotiated their lease with them that has specific deliverables in terms of investment and job creation. So we're excited about that too. And then, you know, more shovel-ready sites. I said that. Live CHQ campaign, we gotta continue that. The government reduction initiative I talked about, you know, we talked earlier about it, and, you know, we're very involved in that. We wanna make sure that we're all over that. And then, of course, the NRG reuse initiative, which has been painful. It's taken a lot of time. Vince has been very involved in that, as have we, and we're hoping for a good outcome on that. But it's way more complicated than you might think, and we really worked hard on that. Yeah, we did a viewpoint show with Dennis Quaid, which was pushed out all over the country. We go to Washington every year. We just got back last week, and we meet with our elected officials and talk about projects and try to line up funding. We had a couple of retirements. Carol Rasmussen, she was with the IDA for years. She retired. Rich Dixon retired, and so we're plugging away, and we had a solid year. So I don't know if you want to talk about the partnership.
So if you want to flip to pages 12 and 13 in your booklet, I'll just highlight a few things we didn't cover. Again, as part of the work of the partnership, a lot going on in the city of Jamestown, activating the Chattacoin River Basin behind the National Comedy Center. We hope to see some improvements start to take shape this summer. About $2 million in grant funding secured. We're also the recipient of a Department of State brownfield grant, where we're looking at 5 vacant or underutilized properties adjacent to the Chattacoin River and focusing on pre-development activities, which will hopefully lead to future private investment and redevelopment of those sites. We talked about Shovel Ready, Live CHQ. As part of Live CHQ, we have a lot of other workforce initiatives. Workforce Ambassador Program that we started last year, as well as CHQ professionals that our office helps oversee. And then finally, I'll just, not to put Rebecca on the spot, but maybe Rebecca can just outline some trail and Paint CHQ related initiatives as well.
Yeah, I mean, just coming together with our trails groups and our Greenway over the past 5 years has made such an immense difference in our trail systems throughout the county. You know, last year we kicked off our first inaugural Chautauqua Trails Day, which was June 21st, and we'll be gearing up for another round this year. We've been really working on improving what we have, but also thinking about future trail systems as well. Our Barcelona to Chautauqua Institution Trail we've been working towards is kind of rebranded as Lake Erie to Chautauqua Lake Connector Trail System that we're planning and working through. And then just really working together through the trails communities to go after additional grant funding to improve our trails. Rails to Trails is trying to think about the connection to Pennsylvania, and we're working on helping them through that process as well. And then we already touched upon the work through the New York Forward and DRI applications and supporting those municipalities, but it's so important to put in that planning work to bring forth projects that are catalytic and really change a community's perspective with potential investment with that grant application. And then lastly, Paint CHQ is an initiative solely funded through the partnership through grant funding opportunities. You know, we partnered with the county's Planning and Development Department, but funding was solely through the partnership and had a huge impact on 3 of our municipalities, Sherman, Westfield, and Faulkner. We will be doing Dunkirk this year, and we also have Bemis Point on the docket this year as well. So we're really excited. We'll be announcing that very shortly. But just placemaking is such a huge piece in the planning, in community development and growth. So it's been busy.
So that's it. If you go to the last page, you can kind of see who our board members are at the IDA, which is also really the board members for Critic and for CPAG. We do have an advisory board. But, and then you can see sort of the staff, like, what, you know, if we're working on both the IDA and the partnership, or just the partnership, you can see that as well. So that's it.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bud.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate over the years, Mark, you and your staff, and it means something because I'm seeing this familiar faces over and over, and that's, I'm glad to see that. It means what they're doing is meaningful, and they're providing results in Chautauqua County, and I know you take this to heart, each of you.
And we'll be back to give a department-specific update next month as well.
Yep.
Planning will be here, and I have them scheduled next month for planning, correct? So.
If I can say one more thing,
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
glad you brought that up. We have a tremendous staff. I've been doing this a long, long time. And all of these people up here are well-known across the state as being competent, you know, really smart, at the top of their game. And the fact that we have stability is so important. It wasn't always that way. We used to have a turnover, but I think we've been able to all create a culture. We all care about each other, and people like coming to work. You know, there's none of this, actually. And so we're really, really fortunate to have this team, and there's a lot of young people too, which is good for the longevity of keeping this thing going. So thanks.
It's an honor to be part of it. I really love the idea. I like being a part. Being on the board is a fantastic thing for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, the last item on the agenda this evening is other. Do we have anything for other? Hearing none, I think Olivia wants to go home, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Second that, I'll make a motion.
There you go. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Year over year over year. That's a lot of work. A lot of energy. I mean, I don't agree with them all the time.
This is more than you need, but I figured you might want to leave some quote around your office, or even give it to TJ's and let him put him in his office, but, anybody who's not here tonight, just put it in their mailbox.
Okay, I'll do that.
You want me to coil up your EMI cord?
No, it's okay, I'm gonna ask Dustin to do it more.
Yeah, luckily I don't have that quite. I do bend a lot at my knees all the way.